Today is essentially going to be the pilot, and we're going to be running through the entire format of what's going to be our product, essentially, everything that we'll be doing in the future. And we also have some things that we haven't quite gotten together for this specific one that will be available next week, for instance. So this will be a weekly podcast that's going to hopefully answer every single question you've got.
That's the plan, at least. And one of the biggest things that we're really trying to accomplish here is actually give you guys the time of day to answer your questions, some of the bigger, weirder questions you guys might have, some of the more insightful, maybe spiritual, maybe more of like a personal kind of thing you're dealing with. And we're going to give you the answer you kind of deserve, because we've kind of seen over the years with the development of live stuff, no one actually is given the time of day. Everyone gives you that 15-second answer, ending with like a haha, and then on to the next one. So we don't want to do that. And one of the main things that we really want to do in here is actually touch on subjects that are often overlooked. So one of those things in general is philosophy itself.
Yeah. And I mean, today's theme is what is music to you? And I couldn't think of a more perfect way to approach like literally everything that is philosophy in regards to music. I mean, it is the total essence, if you will.
Absolutely. So let's dive in, dude. So what is music for you, dude? So in other words, like, if music itself was a tool or a drug or what are you using it for? What's your selfish reason for needing music? What is it for you?
Escape.
Yeah.
Escape from literally everything. I grew up in quite a troubled household, as you know, and you're pretty much the same way.
Yes.
And so there was always my method of getting out of a situation, specifically from my mother, who was not the most polite person in the world. And so it was everything that I needed to be able to put myself into a different world, not just a different room, not just, flesh meets steel, but as a way to kind of bring out the part of me that I was not able to do in kind of the standard social construct of what we are.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have spoken about this, tons and tons of times, but the fact that like music is a way to kind of say the words you don't have words for.
Yeah.
Kind of express the things that don't really have words that exist to explain that,
Yeah, I mean, it's like the notes we play through improvisation and through songwriting. We're expressing not necessarily sentences, but more so entire emotions and feelings that sometimes we can't even put into words. Obviously, hence the music aspect, of course. But it's like the story is such a personal thing when we approach an instrument. It's a situation where we're able to kind of dive into the deepest parts that don't necessarily have a description, and we can just kind of funnel it into something that's tangible and hopefully relatable for the listener.
Right.
And that's, in a sense, that's a secondary thought.
Right.
Because, all of us do it initially for ourselves. It's one of the most selfish professions we could possibly have.
Absolutely.
But that's the cool thing, is that, people are able to relate and give themselves over to, essentially your control.
Right, yeah. It's to listen to music and to be into music is a huge just like submission to the moment and just kind of like accepting whatever you're being blanketed with, right? And just kind of interpreting it and doing something with it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's weird.
It's like touching on like songwriting.
Right.
When you pick up the instrument, what's the first thing you play? It's like, is it a chord? Is it the standard? Right?
No. Right. Yeah, no, it's expressing something in the moment, typically for me.
Yeah, it's
right, rather than like a little lick I would know.
Yeah, it's something that's like, it kind of gives the vibe of who you are, either that day or that hour or that minute.
Right.
Something that allows you to begin that funnel, begin that kind of wormhole into, your expression for the day.
Right. Yeah, it's the question itself is so heavy and so loaded. What is music for you? I have this interesting concept, this idea that music is a mirror, it's a really interesting thing. So for me, music is a means of expressing myself. It's an outlet to, if I have like pent up energy, something that's kind of like, overloading my circuits, I need to get that shit out or else I'm going to overload and explode, you know what I mean? So for me, it's a means of kind of like, relieving that extra pressure. So that's like the forced necessity of music. And what I realize music actually is doing, I'm kind of like putting a reflection of myself into my song. And it's kind of like a means for me to see, a reflection of myself in a mirror that I could, learn from and figure stuff out and kind of develop and grow from there. And then what really is happening is on the flip side of that, when someone listens to your music, that mirror turns around and they are going to mistake the reflection of you that's instilled in that mirror. They're going to mistake it for a reflection of themselves. They're going to interpret it as their story and it's become their emotion. And that to me is the most powerful thing. I literally just goosebumped hard as hell saying it. To me, it's that's what it's all about, dude.
That's when that's a verb.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Goosebumped?
Yeah.
I'm goosebumping.
Did you goosebump today?
I definitely, yes, officially. I also didn't shave.
But I was going to say, it's like not natural to have goosebumps that size.
Yeah, well, I'm a hairy Jew, I guess.
The whole music, the mirror kind of theme, it's something that I think many of us kind of subconsciously acknowledge but don't necessarily understand.
Right.
Can't exactly, see the reflection because it's often 2 times distorted.
Mm-hmm.
And
dirty mirror.
Exactly. It's like, it's going to be some political reference there, I'll refrain from that.
Need some windbags.
But whenever it comes to like trying to see that image that you're trying to create and you're looking into the mirror and all you see is just like a shadow or
right.
some example of you that isn't
right.
clear. And how do you approach that? How do you clean it up?
Are you saying when I'm putting the reflection of myself in a mirror
mm-hmm.
and it's feeling like the mirror needs to be cleaned?
Hazy? Yeah. Missing that window.
To me, that is exactly what it's supposed to be. To me, if that's what I'm instilling in that moment, that's because my whole life is fucked up and hazy. Like if my mirror image is not crystal clear, that means that what I'm going through is not. It's not really tangible. You know what I mean? It's going to be like cloudy and hazy and kind of taking abstract things and deciding what it is, what to make of it.
Yeah.
So to me, I would just be like, cool, that's it. That's an abstract thing to be interpreted by anyone in that moment, and I'd probably just roll with it.
It's fucking sick, man.
Yeah, right? I mean, or I'd grab some Windex and bust my big fat Greek wedding and do the whole thing, but at the end of the day, I think it's actually important to kind of commit to your artistic decisions when they happen as opposed to second guess them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I learned from like transcribing is that music is rarely perfect. It's
mm-hmm.
rarely beautiful.
Yes, you know that on
me. All those grace notes.
Yeah, that's what they are. So graceful.
But it's like in transcription, and I'm like doing a Dan solo, for instance, I will have to add in these ghost notes right before the beat because Dan has this tendency to anticipate the beat whenever he solos.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool vibe. But so when I started doing transcriptions and seeing these things, I recognized that music is not like the perfect shit you're given in band class.
Right.
It's very much like, oh, this is messy. It's super messy. And I think that kind of correlates.
Dirty mirror.
Yeah, it translates just to the mirror thing.
It's a dirty fucking mirror.
Music is supposed to be broken. It's supposed to be, a chasm of
mm-hmm.
all these feelings that you don't necessarily understand. Mm-hmm. And so, I think in short, it's like what is music is kind of like your broken self versus your perfect self. Yeah,
and there's something, as far as like, going back to like what is music for you, what is the purpose, if it was a tool, what are you using it for? There's this idea that I have when I'm talking about music, playing music, writing music. It's the idea that like for me it's always been a means of like funneling the shit that I'm going through into what I'm listening to, so that I don't have to deal with it alone. It's kind of like I feel understood in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So to a certain degree, music it's alchemy, right? Alchemy. Whatever the English.
I remember that was a massive argument that we had.
Yeah, well, a few months. Well, it's definitely garage and not garage, so
it's totally garage. It's like, well, it's C-Dre, not Silent.
Oh God. I thought it was Kedra. So, I mean, at the end of the day, to me, and for you guys who don't know what alchemy is, it's like, it's the idea of taking, like, you know, bronze and dirt and making it into gold, right? It's the idea of taking something that's shit and turning it into something positive, negative into positive. So for me, music has always been a means of, like, if I'm feeling shitty, I'm either going to listen to something that amplifies that energy, so I could be like, holy shit, I'm not alone, and that shakes me from it. Or I'll, you know, go on a caricature version of my existence and be like, I want to feel really happy, even though I feel sad. Sometimes I'm really happy and I want to listen to aggressive, heavy music. There's really no reason or rhyme as to why it's happening, but to me, there's always like a little bit of a interplay, a little bit of 1 + 1 = 3 that I can never really anticipate or predict, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's also like that addictive side to things where, you know, I know at least for me, whenever I'm in, you know, some of it like a down mood, the only thing I'll ever want to listen to is something that would just make it worse.
Yes.
Versus better. And it's an interesting concept, I think I would call it, just because, you know, I mean, psychologically speaking, it's easy to explain, you know, depression is like addictive. However, like, why, you know, would you orally want to put yourself deeper into that situation? I know that you can relate to that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yes, it's like, you know, the shit with my mom when I was growing up. It was like, you know, the last thing I want is to feel that happiness, because how do I even know what that is?
It's fleeting, right?
Yeah. And so I, you know, try to find as much darkness as I could. And I ended up realizing that as a composer, as a guitarist, as a musician, that that darkness is, you know, essentially part of my mirror.
Right.
It's the beveled edge.
Right. Oh shit. It's the Bevel King.
It's the vignette.
Yeah, that's some real ass shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, so right now this is kind of, you know, we could go on forever with this topic. Alex and I, literally, this whole entire thing was birthed from he and I. We obviously live together. We run a studio together. We have like an education business.
And a couple guitars.
A couple guitars, as you could see. And what ends up happening is, you know, we'll both have like an 8-hour day of lessons, and then we'll go in the backyard and hang out before we go to sleep, and we'll wind up just talking about like all the little discoveries we had in the lesson. And we wind up staying outside for hours sometimes. And we kind of recognize that we feel like if anyone was going to be listening to that, if anyone was able to hear what we were saying, there might be some value to that. And this kind of brings us to where we are right now, talking to you about this singular question for probably over 20 minutes.
And the thing to also realize here is that it's not just kind of our ramblings of a certain topic. So we have compiled hundreds, not even kidding, hundreds of topics that we have found, and we've spoken to people and we've kind of just encountered in our own experiences that are always prevalent and never actually, you know, kind of explored. And so what is music for you is essentially this kind of abstract, you know, idea. You know, it's also a very personal thing. So there will be topics like these that are abstract that will give you our insight into something like that. That being said, we've got some very direct topics that we'll be covering in the future. Like next week, we've got one that's pretty juicy. And we'll be exploring kind of our solution, our guest solutions, and, you know, with that being said, we do have a guest.
We do, and I actually want to take a moment to say this real quick. Every question that we're posing and we're talking about, our purpose here is to create a community with you guys, right? Like, we want to have you guys having this elongated discussion with us, with each other. We want you guys to be going at each other, you know what I mean? We want to have basically we've created a Facebook group, and we'd like you guys to all go ahead and go there. And if you guys can go ahead and answer this question for yourselves so we can get some discussion and start to get some back and forth on this, I think that'd be super awesome.
I mean, this does not end here. This is something that we all search for. And we won't, our answers now will change in a year, will change in a month. And what's really cool about it is that we've got a large group of people already in this group that are talking about these types of things and that are beginning to explore all the unanswered questions of music.
Right.
And it's really cool. So we want you to be a part of it. And so, one of the guys that we've got on our roster we'll be talking to monthly is the great Trey Xavier from Gear Gods.
He's also got a new band called In Virtue that's fucking awesome. The dude's got unreal pipes on him. You guys probably do know Gear Gods, but if you don't, you're going to get to know him very soon. We're going to go ahead and ask him a bunch of stuff to get his insight on this, as well as a few other things. If you guys have any questions yourselves, please go ahead and let them send them away into the text, into the chat, and we'll go ahead and ask Trey when he is here.
And so now I'm going to have to hop onto the other side of the camera to go and accept his request. So everyone, please welcome Trey.
Yo.
Okay.
All
How
right.
are you, brother?
Technology. It works. It's alive. All right. Just trying to find the best place for the light.
Yeah.
Because I'll be backlit. Oh yeah, there we go. And I got a sexy pose going, so I'm ready. I'll stop looking at myself now.
What kind of panties are you wearing?
None. The none kind. Flesh colored of nothingness.
Awesome, dude. Well, actually, that's really good to know that I can ask you a question and you respond within 2 seconds. So does this feel like we're having a conversation, or are you like waiting?
Yeah, it does. It feels like it's real time. When I was watching it before, the audio sync was a little wacky, but right now it's perfect.
It's weird. So. I don't know why it would be lagging.
Well, I guess we'll have to talk to Mark Zuckerberg. He's a friend.
Yeah, I think he's really probably at this point open to getting a lot of questions asked to him.
I really have to ask him why he's wearing someone else's flesh, but we'll get there.
He'll be like, oh yeah, well, it's fine. Anyway, all right. So how are you guys doing? You look like you're
we're doing good, man. We're giving this a go, man. We're trying it out, and we figured you might be one of the best dudes to kind of get going with this.
I do love being a guinea pig, so that's fine by me.
So many jokes.
I mean,
okay.
How far will that go?
Yeah.
There's a limit, but I haven't found it yet.
Trey, if music was a tool, if music was a drug, what are you using music for? What is it for you?
Okay.
Right?
It's the best answer I've heard.
Okay. If music was a tool, I'm using it to build a bridge between myself and people like me. This is actually something I've thought about a lot.
That's my baby.
Because literally, so there's lots of reasons to make music. Okay, lots of sort of well-intentioned and some not so well-intentioned reasons that you can make music. You can make music just to make money. I guess that's not necessarily not well-intentioned. It's just a little shallower or whatever, and maybe whatever. But the reason that I make music the music that I want to make, for example, in Virtue, like you mentioned, thank you for that, by the way, is because I want to find people who feel the same way that I do, I want it to hit them and find a kindred spirit so that when they hear it, they're like, that is, you said something, either musically or lyrically or whatever, that I feel too. And then you find people who are the same as you that are all over the world. Because I've been around the world a bit, not a whole hell of a lot. I've never been to Asia, for instance, but I've met people from probably every continent and probably 80% of the countries on Earth, okay? And the whole these artificial boundaries, okay, countries, race, cultures, stuff like this. We think of those, or in general, people think of those as being somehow very important. Russian people are like this, or that's a funny example because Alex is totally Russian. Remember that, right? Whatever. Chinese, people in Taiwan are like this. But it's total horse shit, because really what you'll find is if you go to Russia, or China, there's a Taiwanese Dan Sugarman there somewhere. There's a guy who's who's probably has all these things about him that are way closer to being like you, than being a bunch of random sampling of Taiwanese people, right? And so the way that we find those people that are actually similar to us, okay, or actually, I'm just going to keep using the phrase kindred spirits, is by finding these kinds of things that the important aspects of our personality type or similar shared interests or whatever, is by doing things like that. And making music is one of those ways that you can just it's just like a straight arrow of a bridge going from your brain and heart to theirs and like connecting it. And that sounds a little hippy but probably
it's really not, man. It's actually extremely ironic that you're saying that. I've been saying for a couple of years that music is frequency bait. In other words, like if you were to like bait a fish, right? So like draw in some kind of fish you want, specific fish, maybe they like this kind of worm, like a beta fish. Sure, a beta fish.
Do you want a beta fish for a beta fish?
So the idea is that when you're putting yourself into a song, right? You're creating that mirror, that reflection of yourself. What you're actually doing is you're magnetizing people that are the same frequency towards you. And over my past like 10 years of touring internationally and talking to all these fucking people that actually have the the audacity or tenacity, I should say, to come up to me and like say something to me and speak to me, as opposed to be like, the fucking assholes. Like, the balls just to like come up and actually like have a conversation with me and like kind of remove that whole like that barricade that for some reason exists off stage with people and musicians. Like, I fucking hate that whole idea, right? And for me, I've seen for the past decade that every single time that I speak to these people, we have shit in common. I have something to learn from them. They have something to learn from me. We share super similar like interests and like issues. It's just I've seen it over and over again, man. Like, I can't agree with you more, dude. It's so interesting.
Right. I like to think of like a. Sorry, were you gonna say something? Okay. Yeah, that's right. No, yeah. So like you think of like a concert, right? Of people who go, people who go to see a certain musical artist. They go, and you get a group of people in the same venue or place, and they're all there for the same reason, and they're gonna, no matter where they came from, in regards to all of the, all the stuff I was talking about before, race, gender, cultural background, ethnicity, nationality, all that stuff, wherever they came from, they're all there for the same reason. And that's the thing that they have that's in common, that's far more important than any of that other crap. And it makes logical sense that those people would get along, or not necessarily get along better, but just have one important thing in common.
It's a school of fish caught in a net.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating how vital music preferences are to people like past the age of 14, for instance. Like, that becomes like this key defining factor in this is what I like. Yeah, exactly. It becomes a part of their identity, right? Mm-hmm. And while it might shift here and there until you're like the age of 22, you've got like this core value basically, which is either your parents' music preferences starting to bridge with your own and bridge with your friends. And from that point forward, just like it becomes, even to like the regular listener who doesn't play any instrument, it becomes this like personification of themselves that, if you don't have the same music taste, it's like the first thing that you cross off the list with that person. It's like, nope, not doing it. This person's not good. I know who this person is. I know what they listen to. Exactly. It's like,
yeah.
And anytime Dan talks about hip hop, just like I get further away from him.
Yeah. Well, I smell a little too. It's real though. But Trey, I kind of wanna shift a little bit here and ask you another kind of question here.
Okay.
What is your musical kryptonite, dude? Like, what makes you crumble when you're in a situation?
Do you mean as far as playing or listening?
Obviously not John Petrucci.
I would, yeah. I would say, like, when you're in a live setting, what's the one thing that's going to make you fall apart? Or when you're writing, what's one thing that'll make you fall apart? Is that like a roadblock that you just constantly deal with?
Okay. Well, I don't get to play live that much. I'm hoping to change that this year. We played our first first show with the new lineup this year, and it went reasonably well. Well, I think it's probably improvising, to be honest. Like, I mean, as someone with a music degree and who thinks about music all the live long day, and who studied jazz for the first 2 years. I was a jazz major in college at Berkeley and then at Sonoma State. I am a horrendous improviser. And I think it's related to the fact that I have trouble, I freeze up a little bit under a time constraint. And so having so much to think about, my brain goes and panics, and like I just go, I just like default to like total basic ass licks that are with bad phrasing and all this stuff. And I think and it's true of me as a person across the board in general, that anytime there's a sort of time constraint that I'm aware of, it tends to overshadow my good, normal, rational thought process and creativity. So that's probably my kryptonite, although I am working on it.
That's all you can do.
Right. We all have that thing, dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, what you're dealing with, I feel like, is you probably have all the fucking knowledge you need, right?
And I was going to say, it's like improvisation is the most natural thing you can do when it comes to music in general.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like conversation. Our conversation right now is improvisation.
Mm-hmm. This has all been
right
to this point, but
at this point.
Don't tell me that now that I'm blowing.
Just wanted to point out that your pterodactyl scream earlier set the dog off downstairs.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
She thought so too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Invited a pterodactyl.
So Trey, what would be
Trey Xavier. Sorry, I had to.
What would be a solid piece of advice that you would give yourself 10 years ago?
Oh hell. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, easy. I mean, I presume you're talking about musical advice and not advice for dating women or anything. But yeah. Number one piece of advice would be to do way more transcriptions. Like, just like forget everything else almost. Like even like I hesitate to say this because I know somebody's gonna like quote me on this, and then I'll be in trouble. But I don't fucking care. Whatever. Like basically like drop out of college and fucking just do transcriptions all day.
So we're gonna
that's probably
exactly.
Yeah. Drop out of college, you bum. But literally, like, I think because every time I think about something that I've done well, that has really improved what my everything about me being a musician, and then I think about musicians that I respect who are amazing at what they do, they always tell me that they do transcriptions. And for me, it was always, every transcription I did made me level up a lot, especially, if it was for something that I had to play in front of people soon. It turns on something in your brain that you can't do any other way, I think. And figuring out how somebody did something just it just opens up like 1,000 doors.
It does, yeah. Stumbling on what they did with your ear is like one of the most invigorating things to do as a musician,
Especially when you get the fret position wrong for transcription and you end up discovering an entirely new approach.
Right.
I know from like transcribing Angel's shit to transcribing Gus G and those people and having to attempt to figure out what the hell they're doing. And people like Gus, it's kind of inhuman. and Angel was the same way with like his thing on Scale the Summits record. There was like this tapping thing that was more or less an abomination of guitar playing. in the best way possible. And I ended up putting it in the wrong place, and Angel was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "Yeah, notes. Do you know what they were?" But you end up finding out, a whole lot more about yourself and your ear than you would necessarily just by, obviously going online and just downloading from Ultimate Guitar.
Right.
That's like the best answer I would have expected from that question.
Yeah, seriously, that was the last thing I was gonna like.
It's such a Berkeley question.
Don't give up, man. Keep going. Fucking transcribe.
Keep going. You can do it. You can't do it. Recognize that you can't do it and do it anyway.
Give up now. Become an accountant.
Yeah, we got some.
Yeah, I think
we got a couple questions. Can I tackle these questions from the viewers here?
Yeah, you're seeing them as well, and it's towards you. Answer away, man. That's all you.
Yeah. So this guy wants to know what's a good way to get a start on transcribing.
Who's asking the question?
Okay. This is Donnie K333 wants to know. So Donnie, well, I'll tell you how I did it. Okay. So when I was, I want to say probably 15, I did my first. Transcription is I use kind of loosely. I didn't write anything down. Okay. I mean, I'm learning songs by ear. I call it a transcription. You can write it down, of course, if that helps you. Tab it out, whatever. I sat down with my shitbag boombox and I learned every single fucking note of Fade to Black by Metallica. On the CD, hitting rewind over and over again. It took me like 2 weeks. Okay, now that is an incredibly lo-fi way to do it. This is 2018. There are resources out the ass. YouTube has like a half-speed feature on there. You can slow the song down on YouTube. So all you do, okay, if you've never done it before, you literally just like listen to a part of the song that you're trying to learn, listen to like 2 seconds of it, and then stop and just find those notes, find the first 2 or 3 notes on your guitar, wherever you can find them, and just play that until you get it, and then do the next part, like over and over and over again. It takes forever at first, but the first transcription you do is going to take forever. It might take you 2 weeks like it did for me. The next one will take you half as long, and then it just gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and you start to recognize things that people do on the guitar a lot. You'll recognize, you hear a dive bomb the first time, you don't know how to do it, and then once you learn how to do one of them, you hear that a lot of them are basically the same basic thing or whatever, or like certain 3-note per string scales or whatever, and then you just do it over and over and over again, and it's a little bit tedious, but the rewards are so beyond worth it. I haven't done one in a while, but that's mostly because I don't have the friggin' time. But it's easily the best way to learn.
I mean, dude, you're developing your ear, you're developing your actual skill set, you're developing your rhythm transcribing abilities, which is actually really, really important. You're developing your ability to like figure out new techniques. There's just so much to that, man. That's such a good piece of advice, dude.
Yeah.
And much like in the way of like talking about technology earlier, there's a lovely piece of software out there called Transcribe, an exclamation point. Which I know, right? It's like transcribe, and I don't know if you use it, but it's fucking epic. Like you're able to slow it down to 35% of the tempo, which is like really useful if you're like transcribing John Petrucci's beard. And it's really effective. You can set like waypoints where it'll keep repeating this certain phrase and stuff, and it's pretty cheap, it's like $70. But with that in mind, like the gear shit, let's go ahead and talk about your Gear God Gear report.
Yeah.
All right.
Trey's Gear God Gear report. That's what you wanted to do.
Sure.
So check this out, guys. So what we're going to be doing is every week we're going to have a guest artist, and then we're going to have a recurring guest come on and do a 5-minute segment. The segment that we're doing today, we're just going to flow from Trey's artist interview to now him doing his actual shortened segment. And it's basically going to be Trey's take on what the fuck's going on right now. And the first question that I want to ask you, dude, what's a piece of gear that you're super stoked about lately? Like, what's the latest thing that you're just like chuffed about?
Okay. Well, I came prepared. I actually have two that are kind of in this up the same alley and this on the same wavelength here. Check this out. So this is Tyler the Frequency Splitter. So this is like really gnarly KMA Audio Machines pedal. So what this does is it takes your signal and it splits it into a high and low frequency. It's basically like a crossover, okay? And then what it does is then you've I don't have enough hands to do this, but you've got on one side you've got a loop for the high frequency sounds and a loop for the low frequency sounds, and you can set the crossover point and the mix for it. So basically, recently I've been obsessed with bass tone, okay? Guitar tone is very important. I don't feel as though I've mastered it, but in a recording, bass tone is like everything. Absolutely everything, especially in metal, okay?
It's retarded.
Yeah, I mean, see, it's the body of
Yeah.
guitar
It's
tone.
insane.
Yeah, you can have thin as hell guitar tone, and if your bass tone is thick as crap, it doesn't even matter. So in order to get good metal bass tone, and in other genres too, but especially metal or heavy music, the best thing to do, I'm going to stop showing that because the best thing to do is to split your tone into high and low. When you record it, it's easy to do. You can just copy and paste the track and split it up like that. But in a live setting, this is the first time I've seen something like this. So what you do is you want the low end to be very clean and fat. So you siphon off the low end, you compress the crap out of it, you can EQ it a little bit, but you leave it basically very clean because you want it to be like almost like a sine wave, this like constant like ooh, so that it feels nice, okay? And then you want a clanky high end because if you so you take the high end and you distort that basically like a guitar. You treat it kind of like a guitar. I personally put it through a fuzz pedal, but
Interesting.
what you do, yeah. So what you
The high end.
no, the high end. Yeah, so you get the clanky definition and the distortion that glues it in to the overall mix. And so this pedal, the KMA Audio Machines Tyler the Frequency Splitter, allows you to do that in a live setting. So you basically wind up with dual parallel processing for your bass tone, and that's awesome. It's friggin' great. I'm working on a video for it right now. Boom, done. How much time do I have left?
Let's just run through the next one. You want to ask this one?
Yeah. So what's one piece of gear that totally fucked up and let you down?
Oh no, I wasn't prepared for that one.
It's a good question, man.
Yeah, consider like something newer that's like you were hyped on and it was just a total letdown. Like something that you're not
okay.
But you're okay with ruining your sponsors with.
Yeah. So there's I am pretty lucky in that I mostly get sent really top-notch stuff to review. I haven't had to like shit on anything. But there was something that was so bad that I sent it back and told them like, no thanks, like this is because I was gonna have to just absolutely just shit all over it. Is it
something that I know about?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it was an interface that had so much promise, dude. I can't even. The design of it was amazing and it should have been great, but it just flopped. It's called it was Antelope Audio, the Zen fuck, what is it? Zen Tour. The Zen Tour audio interface. So it was like an audio interface that you just like kind of like the Apollo twins, kind of like compact-ish, but a little bit bigger. It had four DI inputs, like 4 guitar high-Z like plug-in. So you could plug in 4 guitars at once, 2 reamp outs. Okay, so you were supposed to be able to like run 2 outputs at once and run 2 amps, but literally I couldn't get enough gain out of the thing to going in or out to get even remotely decent guitar tones. Like I would have had to like just crank up the gain to get it to saturate or anything. And the internal amp models, so it had like, you know, built-in amp modeling, so that you could do 0 latency recording was the idea, like tracking. And they were just terrible, like super low gain, like under-gained, I guess you would say. Just
was it a limit, or did you just, it's just not a good problem?
No, it was terrible. I talked to a bunch of other people, gear reviewers, who were going to do it, and same thing with them. And I was like Ola England, and I talked about it. He was like, "Yeah, man, it's just terrible." So, you know, that was a bummer because it seemed so cool, and that was, you know, that shit just happens. Like I really think that there were no guitar players involved in the making of that product, even though it was so guitarist centered, you know? I'm like, did you fucking test it before you sent it out? Because I kind of feel like I was like, literally just hire me for 2 days. I could tell you that. Anyway.
Awesome, man.
But that's, you know, that's my job. That's what I do. So like, it can't all be wonderful.
All be a gear god,
right? So, dude, we're gonna go ahead, call that the segment. Do you feel like that two solid questions about gear? Do you feel like that's a cool way to just dive in and just attack some shit?
Yes, I dig it.
So how do you feel about maybe we could have like everybody else send in, if they have specific gear questions or anything directly towards you, we'll just collect those and we'll just toss them your way and see how you feel about that, dude. How's that sound?
Sure. I dig it. I mean, you know, it's only like 5 minutes. I feel like it's not enough, but that's great. That's fine.
We can obviously we can go longer. The whole point is we're trying to make this within an hour, but like, you know, obviously it's gonna probably go a little past that.
It is.
But
there's some flexibility. But like our goal here is just basically to inform as much as we can each week.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Trey, you know, we need more pterodactyl screams. So we're gonna have to do 8 minutes for that.
8 minutes. 3 minutes of just screams. And now here's Trey Xavier with the weekly screaming.
Pterodactyl scream weekly, coming live.
Yeah, that's the new jingle to our show. Is going to be exact.
So dude, we really fucking appreciate you coming through. We'd really love if any of your Gear Gods people who tuned in wanted to go ahead and follow us, and we'll let them know what the next step is from here as we go ahead and shift from being in our test mode to actually launching this product completely. But yeah, with that being said, we fucking love you to death, man. You are one of the best humans we know.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you. This was really fun. I'll see you again a month. You said once a month.
We'll do once a month with you, man, and like we'll obviously keep in touch and figure out what kind of stuff we want to be doing. But yeah, just a quick drop in once a month, dude.
Hell yeah. Sounds good, dude. 5 minutes once a month. I think I can handle that. Thanks.
I think you can, dude.
All right, guys.
All right, love you, dude. Thank you so much.
Peace, brother. You're the man, Trey. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and shift gears into what we're calling the VIQs, the very important questions.
VIX.
The VIX. Effectively, what we're going to be doing here, obviously, you guys are more than welcome, and we actually encourage you to send in tons of questions right now. But we know how hectic that can be. We've done tons of live streams before, and what ends up happening is there's just this oversaturation of questions, and you have only so much time to answer them before it just feels like too much. So what we're doing is we're taking specific questions sent through as a VIQ through EverFret.com/ThoughtCast. And from that point, you will be confirmed as being on the show. We'll have your question answered. With that, you want to go ahead and tackle question number 1?
Yes. Okay, guys. This time I'm also going to be watching the phone. So if you've got any other questions, just start putting them in, and we'll kind of tackle both sides.
We'll try to tackle these VIQs first, as that will obviously be our prioritized questions.
Yes, and we'll explain the reason why that is the case shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and reach out to my dear student, Fernando EverFret from Puerto Rico, who asked, how do you know when a song is ready? How do you know when enough is enough? And how do you not oversaturate a song? That's Fernando, that's fucking heavy.
Can I say one thing that will take, it's literally a sentence? I stumbled on a Herbie Hancock quote a couple of years ago that was basically,
play the button notes.
besides the button notes, is you know a song is complete when you can't remove anything else.
Yes.
And that to me has since day one been so integral for like how I approach the songwriting thing.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is that quote in a nutshell. A song is not complete. There's nothing more you can add, but when there's nothing more you can take away.
You could always add something into building it into something kind of elegant, but then you might find it being oversaturated, right? Yeah. So really, if you can make the bare bones element of your song exist in a way where it feels solid, it doesn't feel like it has holes in it, doesn't feel like it's missing something, that's a fucking win.
I want to offer two different perspectives on this question. So between like Dan and I's band and Dan's like personal album that'll be coming out hopefully this year, I'm hoping, to like my own band, Seek Irony, which is EDM and rock. Okay, so it's like, you know, very much mainstream compared to, you know, our band, which is death metal, like progressive death metal, and then Dan's personal stuff. Like my approach when it comes to you know, like how is a song done, like the Seek Irony, it's very easy because you've got like 5 or 6 parts at most at a time, and half the time guitar is not even involved. And then whenever we do like our band, The Construct, or you know, solo material and stuff like that, it's, you know, we've got like 30, 40 things going on at once, subtly or very much in your face. And is that totally necessary? Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck cares?
It's a mixed game at that point, right?
Yeah, it's finding the space for each instrument.
Which is another art.
Yeah, it is. And but so it ultimately comes down to that you have to kind of approach each song as each, you know, like purpose of that song.
Right.
You know, what is it for? Is it for TV? Is it for yourself? Is it for, you know, a rock band, a metal band, a jazz band, all this stuff?
Does this come down to that thing we were talking about yesterday, playing to the moments rather than your abilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Compose to express, not to impress.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Like rather than taking any moment to superimpose like the most wild idea you have, rather than listening to what the song is asking for. I've had, I can't even explain this because it feels so like weird and personal, but I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. I'll have times where I'm like writing a song and I write like a very, you know, just a basic chord movement, maybe a basic riff. And while I'm listening to the song, trying to figure out what comes next or what should come, you know, what should be on top of it. Sometimes I literally hear the thing in my mind, like actual notes. And it like almost comes across like an illusion. Like I think it actually already exists in the song. And then I make it my purpose to like make that muse in that moment my bitch, find it, and figure out if that's exactly what it was supposed to be or not. And 9 times out of 10 it is.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. And
it's the weirdest thing.
And one of the big things I want to also include about, like, you know, when a song is ready, it comes down to like melody writing, right? Of course. It's like, again, to draw the parallel from like death metal to rock EDM, the melody placement, like what the melody is, can be literally as simple on both fronts. It's like, just because it's death metal doesn't mean it has to be like overly complicated or overly technical.
Right, or overly dense or dissonant.
Same way as like EDM doesn't have to be overly synthetic, right? It doesn't have to be overly processed.
Overly womp.
Yeah, the wub-wubs. So it's like you can have anything you want, provided that's what you fucking want.
Right.
And the problems always come from, you know, thinking you have to be something. You have to do this in order for that song to be done. And it's rarely the case. It's like you just have to make the song what it is. You know, write to the song, not, you know, in any other context.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you got another one?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and my student Alton Beal from US, he wanted to know, what do you do to get into the right mindset to create music? And all jokes aside of, you know, comedy and substance abuse and all that bullshit that my mind wants to say and be funny about. That's all completely bullshit. At the end of the day, all I need is an instrument that I'm attached to and a means to capture that idea, and I'm fucking set. So for me, if I'm in a, how do I say this? An environment that could capture what I'm doing, then I'm cool. If I'm in a situation where like I've had an acoustic guitar like in the woods on a camping trip, it's harder for me to complete a song because I don't have that back and forth of being able to like build upon something, build upon time. You know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of kind of, I guess, the mindset comes from seeing how it expands upon each previous step, right? It's like, you know, the ledges, the cliffs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So whenever you're like in the woods, do you ever find that holds you back from composing, or do you find it just gives you a different alternative?
It's purely a different thing. And actually, I go on camping trips with my girlfriend for this particular reason of writing songs like this. It's
because fuck relaxation, right?
There's nothing more relaxing than that shit, dude. Than sitting on a rock overlooking a sunset, writing a song. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But for me, it's a matter of actually encapsulating that place rather than something I'm dealing with. It's more about capturing that energy. I don't know how else to explain it other than the words I just said. Fuck it.
Fuck it. I mean, it makes total sense though.
Yeah.
So normally what we'll be doing is with the VIX, we'll be actually devoting a bit more time to these. Again, today was, you know, the trial run, making sure that everything kind of functions properly, and there are obviously some situations that need to be resolved, which are more technological problems, you know, such as why my computer stopped recording audio like half an hour ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, hold on. With that being said, just while you guys are here, one of our plans was to actually be, as you see these mics here, we're capturing the audio. Over to our right, we were capturing audio. Our plan is to capture all the audio of this. We'll be splicing together all of that with the video audio from here. So that way when we have Trey talking, it'll be high quality audio spliced together. And then what we'll have is we'll be reaching out to some of our test group members about becoming note takers. And this would actually give them access to our program for free.
We'll get into more detail in a moment.
We'll be speaking to all of you guys about that in the Facebook group for those of you who are already in there. And what that's going to actually mean is at the end of each month, we'll be providing you, for those of you who are signed on for the month, we'll be providing the podcast or the audio of these sessions, as well as like what is effectively spark notes of the session. And at the end of that, you'll basically have a handbook of music philosophy. And we couldn't be more stoked to provide this for you guys. At the end of the day, that's one of the most integral things that we feel we're up to is providing a new way of educating you guys about what music is. There's a few aspects of what we're doing here, which is effectively head, heart, and hands. These pieces are derived from our greater company, EverFret, which we'll be getting into much greater later. But the idea is that we're covering the head aspect here. This is the theory, the thinking, the philosophy behind the doing. EverFret is going to be focused on the doing, the how-to. So with that being said, we'd really love to have you guys go ahead and go to everfret.com/ThoughtCast. Go ahead and check out the website. Let us know what you guys think, the way it feels. This is what you guys are here for. We need you guys to be giving us input and insight as to the way the interface feels, the UI. We want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with what we're offering here. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so as Sam was saying, this whole thing is about the why. And our goal for each thing, even though some things might appear to be more like this is something like the what, our attempt is to do it as the why, right? And so through questions curated from before us, such as our VIGs, to our own personal experiences, to your personal experiences, this whole thing is supposed to be kind of like an open channel of communication. And our attempt through all of this is to make it as seamless, as available as possible. And so what we'll be doing is we have kind of come up with a system that we think works pretty well. And we'll be talking about this more over the Facebook group, which is the ThoughtCastNow group, essentially.
Facebook.com/ThoughtCastNow.
And apologies for my phone going off. I need to remember to turn it on silent.
Do I need to say that again when that got buried today?
Let's try it again.
Facebook.com/ThoughtCastNow. If you guys aren't already a member, this is the only way we're going to be able to speak with all of you guys and to create that community feeling. This is where everything's going to be happening. And from there, we'll be sending you guys here on session days, basically. At this point, we haven't decided on the perfect time and the perfect day yet. We did a little bit of research with you guys and figured out this would work. This would be good for now. But we're going to continue to flex our options here and see what we can do.
Yeah. And so what we'll be doing, essentially, is that after this broadcast, this video will remain active in our stories of ThoughtCast for 24 hours, okay? And after 24 hours, it will disappear. We will remove it, and we will remove all of you from this Instagram channel. And the reason why is because we have created a system where tickets for this show will be $7 for one session. Then we have it set $20 for the month.
So you get 4 full sessions, and we're aiming for them to be an hour. You'll probably get more than 4 hours of content for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to never shut up. And also, you get some really cool perks, such as access to gear giveaways, which isn't just for the one session, it's for the month people. So we're going to have gear giveaways, accessory giveaways. We're going to have these in-depth interviews with people. We're going to have transcriptions of a whole bunch of stuff, not just the notes of the class, but also guitar licks, bass licks, drum parts, you know, whatever.
We got articles incoming. The whole thing is designed around interactive community. Obviously, we're going to be providing the Spark Notes for you guys. We're going to have artist stories, a bunch of insight from everybody that you guys really want to be hearing from. And again, the whole purpose of this is to create an engaged community that we feel like we could share stuff with you and you could share stuff with us. We want to make this a symbiotic thing where we're answering the questions that you guys feel as within the music as a whole is not being answered.
Yeah.
We want to do that for you guys.
Exactly. And so for many issues that encountered today, please let us know what they were. We really do want to hear. We want to make this as perfect of a product as possible for you guys. And then next week we will do this again. Only next week will be totally for real. So please go to our group. Please go to our website, ThoughtCastNow.
Hold on.
You want to say the whole thing?
Yeah.
EverFret.com/ThoughtCastNow.
Not ThoughtCastNow.
Oh, that's the other one.
Yes,
I don't even know
that's what I'm saying. So hold on. If you guys are feeling this is something that we're going to be doing every week, and we want to be providing you guys with some high value content. Go to EverFret.com/ThoughtCast. It's a very, very simple system. You'll go ahead and check out some of the perks that you'll be getting, but really what you need to do, go ahead and purchase your ticket, and we will see you every week from here on moving forward. We're really, really excited to do this with you guys, and at the end of the day, this is about giving you guys something that we feel is missing.
Yeah, such as the right URL. So, guys, thank you so much. Please join our group. Please go to our website, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we're going to have some awesome fucking artists. Like, quick side note, we have an insane list of people that we're going to be talking to. We have some awesome ideas as far as shorts and segments. The topics we have on board are fucking mind-opening.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like your skull will crack.
Yes, I can't wait to get all those medical reports of what we need to pay for later. That's going to be good. But look, guys, we're really stoked to have you. We can't wait to take ThoughtCast to where we feel like it can be, could be, should be. And we hope you guys are willing to come with us.
Thank you all, and good night.